Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Adam Balderstone and Lady Chow Fung to talk about A Chinese Ghost Story, the 2011 version, for our latest episode of Wuxia Weekend. This is a film directed by Wilson Yip. It stars Louis Koo, Liu Yifei, and Yu Xiaochun, as well as Kara Hui as the tree demoness. And Elvis Tsui also has a role as the head of the local village. And so, Adam, you have not seen the original Chinese Ghost Story, correct? And
Yeah.
Dion, you and I have both seen that together and talked about
Yes.
it. This is obviously a remake. They even use the original soundtrack, like the musical, the sort of sung lyric version of the song. At the opening and the closing, I think. But Adam, what did you think of this? Just not knowing anything about the franchise.
I found it to be a solid movie. I mean, I would say I absolutely loved it, but it had really nice action. It has pretty intriguing characters. Its special effects on the whole were pretty nice. I don't know. I was pretty happy with that. I had mixed feelings about watching it without seeing the first one because the first one is such a classic. But I thought it would be interesting also being able to have a fresh perspective on it, whereas you guys both have the other movie in your head. I don't know. What did you think of it in comparison to the original?
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie on a whole. It had some differences, but the differences made it feel fresh and new. I like the performances of the actors that were in it. I especially enjoyed Kara Hui as a villainess. That's pretty cool to see. It's not a usual role for her, but it's really good to see her out of her, comfort zone. She was awesome, and I love the special effects that they did in this movie. I liked seeing some special people pop up in the movie. Someone I wasn't expecting popped up in the movie as a pretty big character. So it was pretty nice to see him.
Who was that by?
It was Feng Hak Oin. He's passed away now, but it was really good to see him as the second village leader.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah. He was the one who was complaining about the growth, right? When they were all afflicted by the. Yeah.
About the.
Yeah, and I like seeing Elvis Choi as the elder. I thought that was a nice.
Yeah,
a nice
he was a good choice.
Yeah, he was. And what I love about that character is you can't really tell, is he a bad guy or is he just an incompetent guy? Like it was a little hard to tell for me to tell if he was trying to conceal his incompetence or if he was trying to conceal his corruptness as a village head. And and he's like the perfect actor for that sort of character. But yeah, for me, I reviewed this as a late night movie review in 2017, and I think I gave it a B- when I did. And I had the thing that was probably weighing it down the most for me was just the fact that I had the original in my head, and the original definitely casts a long shadow over a film like this. But I enjoyed it, and so I thought that it was an enjoyable movie. Again, it's not a classic like the original is, but that's such a rarity to achieve. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
So yeah, I agree with you. I agree with like B- on this. It is a good movie, but I was not blown away by it or anything. It was just a solid, enjoyable movie, and that's coming from my perspective, not having seen the original classic.
And just to clarify what B- means, because I feel like there's a lot of grade inflation that goes on these days.
Yeah.
My wife, whenever we're in the car listening to music, she'll have me rate things from 1 to 100, and if I don't give it 100, if I give it like a 98, it's like a big deal. So
why do you hate it so much?
So B- here is pretty good. It's above average.
Yeah. I would totally recommend this to people. B- is by no means bad. I just like to have room for really good movies on my scale.
And so I thought that this is it's like a solid monster movie, and it's a really good introduction to the material. Like if you haven't seen A Chinese Ghost Story, it might be a nice way to enter into it because it's newer and maybe, you know, a viewer who might be a little bit dissuaded by the graininess of the original, this would be a good way for them to become a little bit familiar with some of the story elements before they get to the newer films. And I think that that performance by Kara Hui is amazing. It's you know, she really, like, she goes all in. Like because I remember when I first saw it, I didn't know what to expect, because you know she's a great actress, but you don't know in the role of a villain how fully is she going to commit to that. You know what this character means. And Adam, I know you don't have the other version of this character to compare it to, but it's very interesting because that one is extraordinarily memorable, and she goes in a completely different direction, which makes her version also memorable. But yeah, before I forget, actually, Dion, I was curious, how do you feel the tree demon in this one compares to the tree demon in the first one?
I believe they're both equally hated. I hated both characters. I don't know. There's something about Kara Hui's depiction of her that made her, I don't know, more of a seductress in my mind. I don't know why, but
no, that was definitely there. There was definitely like a blend of seduction and like cackling madness and just this like sinister, evil, like, you know, deceptive plotting that was going on with her. And but go on.
And I kind of want to compare Kara Hui's performance to like Maleficent from Snow White, and you know, that kind of evil.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the character when we saw it the first time in the original didn't give me that vibe, but Kara Hui definitely gives me that vibe, and I don't know if it's like the makeup that they have on her and the special effects that go with her, but it just was a completely different vibe, and I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah,
why it's so different.
It's the sexy but scary thing. It's like when she was going after what's his name, Thunder, the Ha Sweet Fung Lu character, I think his name was, and he was the one who was responsible for imprisoning her, and she was talking about how she wanted to like rip his heart out. But when she said it, there was an element of like, there was a seductive tone to it as well, and so it was, you know, I can definitely see the Maleficent comparison there. And it's interesting because again, Adam, you haven't seen it, so you don't have the point of comparison. But it's so not what the first one is. The first one is a much different take on the tree demon.
No, you know, with Kara Hui's performance, I have to say, I think you know, she's really good at doing comedy too, and I think the thing in common with her comedy and what she does in this is she's someone that's really unafraid to just go out there and do an over the top performance, you know, without holding anything back, and I think it's kind of the same skill in both kind of movies.
Yeah, because she has a lot of like eye bulging moments in this film.
Yeah.
Where she, you know,
Exactly. She's just on the border of ridiculous in this, and it works perfectly.
So I guess you know, the basic plot is quite similar to the original, except in this case, you know, it's all based on the original Pu Song Ling story. But in this one, the Ning Choi San character, who's the scholar, it's not just he who's in love with the Soi Sin character, or I think her name is Ni in the original version in the Mandarin. There's a love triangle, and so the demon hunter Yin is who is the Wu Ma character in the in the original. He's the one that originally is in love with her in this one, and he plants a knife in her head, some kind of mystical knife that causes her to forget all about their love, and ends up almost becoming like a guardian over her. And this all is sort of set against the backdrop of this big thing that happens where he and his other demon hunter companions seal off the the Kara Hui tree demon character at the start of the movie. And so it's a much different. It ends up being a much different story as a result. And again, Adam, I know you don't have the point of comparison to make, but I'm curious what you guys thought of the love story aspect to this movie.
Yeah, I was wondering actually if the Demon Hunter love thing was part of the original because that felt kind of tacked on to me, and I feel like because so much is done well about this movie. It's well directed, the action's good, everyone's really good in their performances, but I feel like that love triangle really kind of muddied the romance of the movie. It's like, you know, the idea of the scholar and the demon falling in love with the scholar and then being a thing, that's got kind of a powerful vibe to it. It's like, oh, you did this like 10 years before. Just kind of, it's like, oh, you know, it's like, it took all the specialness out of it. I feel like once that became apparent, I feel like it made the movie, it really weighed the movie down for me. That was the weak spot.
How about
you,
Dion?
I didn't find that at all.
Really?
Yeah, I found it an extra layer of character for everybody, especially for Susin, who doesn't know anything, and for the scholar who is kind of ignorant of worldly ways, and you know he's fallen in love with this person, but he can't really tell right away that the demon hunter is also in love with her. So to me, it just adds an extra dimension and kind of, for me, gave like background knowledge, or it just added to the movie for me. I didn't think it weighed it down. It was just an extension to make it different, to make it newer, to make it fresher than trying to stick to the same story, because no one really wants an exact repeat of what's already been done.
Yeah,
they kind of want something new and different. But I like the love triangle.
Yeah, see, that's interesting because you're coming from the perspective of having seen the original. So the fact that it did a twist on it is interesting to you. For me, it's like I almost felt like it's too much because I you know kind of wanted what felt like. I mean, like I said, I actually wasn't sure if it was part of the original story, but I just had this sense that it was something added in, and I kind of.
It feels a little more frustrating to watch a love triangle than to watch like a romance between two characters emerge on screen,
yeah.
You know. And but yeah, I guess my attitude on this is I really like the love story in the original. It's classic, and I wouldn't want the original to do what this one did. But I did enjoy the love triangle. There were moments though where I think it felt odd because you are sort of like, wait a second, she's sort of, you know, it's like there was like some kind of tension where you weren't sure who you're supposed to be rooting for. So I don't know how to put it, but like,
yeah,
but I really thought it added a lot of emotional weight to the story, especially in that scene when where Louis Koo's character Yin is suspended from the ceiling as she's got all these talisman threads with the coins descending at her that are threatening to disintegrate her, and he's being forced to watch her die before his eyes. That was a very emotional sequence. There were a number of scenes like that in the movie, but I felt like because the Louis Koo character felt like the most compelling out of the two in this one, if you focus all of your attention on him rather than the Ning Choi San character, then that story, that love triangle really works tremendously. If my attention drifts more to the Ning Choi San, then it doesn't feel as satisfying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think because it was my first time kind of experiencing the story, my attention was on Ning Choi San, and it felt like, this is weird. This doesn't feel right to me somehow.
And my focus was the Louis Koo character, just because of the way that they set it up in the beginning. Yeah. And when I saw the beginning, I obviously knew that it was going to be quite different than what the original was. But my heart always belonged to him, in that it was so heartbreaking for me to watch him watch the woman that he loved be in love with someone else and not even remember him, and he's protecting her the whole time. So you're right, it does add a lot of emotional weight. And then to have, I don't know, the scholar in the first one, was good, but he was kind of, I don't know, naive and everything, and that's what I liked about him. But I wish that this one wasn't as naive, because I don't think that the actor pulled it off as well as Leslie did.
Yeah, well, Leslie Chung, who you remember from The Bride with White Hair, Adam, probably.
Yes.
It's a classic role, so like it's really tough to follow in those footsteps, I think. And so, yeah, I think I think that's another reason why the Louis Koo character is, it's kind of made sense to shift it over there. But I think, like you were saying, I love the tragedy of how she's forgotten about their love, but he hasn't. And then that moment later in the movie where he takes he removes the magic weapon from her head and uses it to kill himself because he's been fused with the tree demon. And that's when all of her memories come flooding back. And they're playing that really dramatic music. I do want to talk about the music to this movie, but we can hold that off for a moment. I thought that was a really, again, it's one of the things that I think Chinese movies do really well, I think better than a lot of American movies, which is they get that emotional, like there's like an emotional bomb, in the movie, and they're not afraid to do it. Like I feel like we're a little bit too cynical sometimes about that stuff, and so when we have those scenes, they have to be too layered or something.
Well, I feel too, it's just where, it's like American movies, things almost always work out anyway. So it's like you have these moments, but they're like, oh, something tragic's going to happen, but then it'll all work out. By the end, everything's okay. And so, yeah, you just learn not to feel anything during those moments. It's probably going to be okay anyway.
yeah. And, or the sentimentality is just viewed as a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's avoided.
That too.
But I kind of like that these things can get so sentimental. So you have that, there's that thing where her memories are flooding back, and then he's, sacrificing himself, and I think the final scene works really well as a result of that. So I guess another part of the movie that we should probably discuss is the supernatural elements, and if you guys thought they worked here, because this is a very sort of there's a lot of magic. There's in this version of it, the Soy-san character is I think a fox demon basically, but they kind of they try to have the best of both worlds. She's a fox demon, but the tree demon also has her remains, which felt kind of cloudy. That's the one part of it I didn't quite get. But and then there's the snake demons, and there's the tree demoness. And basically what's going on is because she's been sealed by this other demon hunter who cut his arm off in order to form the seal, which I thought was a really cool little detail. She's forcing these demons that she has under her control by having their remains at her tree to harness the life of passerby so that she can eventually break the seal. And but I don't know, what did you guys feel about that part of the movie?
I thought, like I said, like you said, some of the stuff was a little cloudy on the supernatural aspects of it, but like I said, I was a little confused about her nature, the whole fox spirit or remains, all of that. I was a little muddy on it, but it didn't interfere with my enjoyment of the movie. It's like I didn't feel like I needed. It's like the movie gave you enough to understand the plot, which was all that was needed. But but on the whole, I liked the supernatural aspects. I liked the way that him releasing the water to the village kind of infected them with that whole weird plant growth and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a nice sense of unexpected consequence to me that I absolutely didn't see coming, but it was very entertaining.
And I love the humor that they got, because the original movie had a lot of funny moments, and I like that they still had the funny moments in this one, and they didn't take it too seriously at times. But yeah, Dion, how'd you feel about the supernatural stuff?
I enjoyed the supernatural stuff. I was a little bit cloudy on what kind of spirit Susan was, especially when the little baby fox appeared at the end. That was like, that wasn't an original. So yeah, that was a little confusing, but I liked that the twin snakes, of one was a green one and one was a white one.
Yeah.
And and her being a tree, I kind of see it as like she was the tree of life, and the animals needed to live in the tree in order to gather the life force of the men and bring it back to her, so they were part of her. I don't know. You know how my brain thinks in these weird kind of ways a lot of times. And I see things quite differently. So yeah, I like that they were animal spirits helping the tree survive in that kind of respect, even though the tree's evil. But I liked the special effects went really well with all the magic. And I'm still confused on how they wouldn't think that with this tree, especially the scholar, seeing the tree demon in the source of the water, and why wouldn't you think it's poisoned? I don't know. My mind just went there immediately. I just thought the whole village was going to kill over and die.
I think because the scholar was so slow to pick up on that detail in the first place. Yeah. So that would be my guess. But yeah, I think... and I can't remember, because the original story, I only have it in translation. And so the different translations, it always looks like she's meant to be some kind of ghost. And I think there might be some other demons present, if I can remember. But I don't know what it actually says in the original Chinese. So I don't know which version is more correct. But I do know that I had a drama series version of this story. Like there's a drama series, I forget the name of it, but it was basically the Pusong Ling stories. And they took like the one that this is based on and a couple of the other more famous ones, and they made like 5 or 6 episode storylines out of each one. And in that one, I think there were two snake demons in it, and I can't remember if she was a fox demon or not. But yeah, I don't know. I think the supernatural I thought was really cool in this. I think the magic worked best in this. The magic was really really fun and exciting. There was that cool scene where Kara Hui uses the tide of leaves to imprison Yin. I thought that was beautiful. That was really well done. And I liked the talisman trap that the other demon hunter used to imprison Su Sin. That was a really cool concept. And so it's got a lot of really nice little magic flourishes, and the tree demon is like this classic thing, and I think the big difference here is again, she's more like Maleficent, whereas in the original it was more of like a repulsive type thing that they were going for. They were trying to really kind of get you on like a Cronenberg level, and it's probably good that they didn't go in that direction, because they did a really great job with it in the first one. So there's not really much chance of matching it.
Yeah, and I don't think Kara Hui could have played off that kind of evil in the horrific looking and everything kind of way. She's just a beautiful woman on the outside, so I think they played up to that, which made it much better.
Yeah, no, I think that they definitely did everything wisely there. And so another thing I wanted to ask about is at the end of the movie, we hear a woman like Yin sacrifices himself, and she stays behind and tells Ning Choi-san to basically leave and go on with his life and bury her remains. And then at the end of the movie, after everything's been resolved, we see him walking in the woods, and he hears a woman's voice, and he looks over, and we don't see what he sees. And so I'm curious what you guys think that is meant to be. Because he smiles, right? He smiles at the end of it.
Yeah, I honestly have no clue. I did not know how to interpret that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Su Sin. She made it out somehow, but with the implosion of the whole illusion, I don't know if that was really possible. And he hadn't buried her body yet, so she couldn't have been reincarnated that fast.
Unless, well, I don't. Maybe did we know how much time elapsed between the end of the movie and then? Or
we don't know. So, to me, it was like kind of immediate, like he was leaving the area, That's the way it felt to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's my feeling.
You never know.
It didn't feel like it was many years later. That's for sure.
Because in the original story, if I recall, it's been a number of months since I read it last, so I'm probably a little fuzzy. But if I remember, when he buries her, she then appears and enters into his household as a servant, basically. And then they eventually marry, but there's there's a whole thing that goes on. So I thought maybe that was it, but again, without knowing the time, it was so fuzzy in terms of that only makes sense if he buried her. But if he hasn't buried her yet, then I have to think in other directions. Like, I don't know, maybe it was, what was her name? Ha Bing, the disciple, the other disciple. In fact, we should talk about that, because by the end of this movie, it starts out like a Chinese ghost story is very much, it deals with, like, the original deals with a very limited range of characters. You just have like the priest, the Yin character, and the Ning Choi San character, and the Soi Sin character, and then you have the tree demon and all those other types of figures. But in this one, there's a lot of demon hunters that kind of band together by the end of the movie and take on the tree demon. So you have the Yin character, you have the other or the other demon hunter, you have the demon hunter's disciple, and they all kind of they form this big team and take on the tree demon. And I was curious, did that I don't know, to me that felt like a shift at the end of the movie. I was curious if that worked for you guys.
Yeah, I on the whole it worked. I think the characters, I don't know. On the one hand, it felt a little crowded. I felt like we didn't quite get enough of a lot of these characters. Like the disciple, for example, seemed to have some dramatic shift that he went through, but that's kind of, it just kind of happens. But ultimately, having all those characters come together for the final scene was an exciting conclusion to the movie. So I have mixed feelings on it.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting conclusion, and I like that the two original demon hunters from the beginning of the movie end up back together, but you don't know if the trust factor is there, and they have to build that trust in order to defeat the tree demon really quickly. Yeah. And Ha Bing is just an interesting character. You want to know a little bit more about her. But she also goes through this change really quickly. Like, in moments, it's like she's really tough and then soft, but still tough. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then she's following directions and orders, but then she goes through a little change and then decides to not follow directions. But it all works to the good of the end. Yeah. To have the two original demon hunters back together, because I don't think that either one of them separately would have been able to take her down. They had to work together.
Well, that's what she realized. I think that's why she made that change, because she just realized the stakes are too high. The whole village will be wiped out if we don't succeed. And so I kind of like the mystery around her character. I like that they leave you wanting a little bit more with her, because she comes in late in the movie and she's sort of a side figure, but she's really important, and she's got a really striking look. She has a real clear personality, even though it's kind of hard to put it in, like, I can't put it in, like, I couldn't write a paragraph describing her character, but like I know she's got like a personality that you kind of can sense and feel. And so I like
her actions were believable through the whole movie.
Yeah,
that's the way I felt.
But I feel like it was good that I wanted to see more of that character, rather than maybe if they get pushed too much on it, maybe I would have gotten sick of her. You know what I mean? Because it was such, like you said, such a crowded movie.
Yeah, because it's an interesting choice. Her, coming out, her big change is one of the pivotal points the whole movie pivots on. And it's kind of an interesting choice, kind of putting that in the realm of this character that we barely know. I mean, it pretty much worked, but it's unusual.
But and what about the other demon hunter, the one-armed guy who, I think it's super cool that his arm was like the seal That to me was that's one of the greatest things.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. It kind of brought me back to the One-Armed Swordsman movies, because he was really whipping his sword around with the one arm, and he had to learn that. Well, I guess really not quickly, but it took him all the time. We don't get to see him training or anything, but he's even better without the one arm than he was at the beginning of the movie. So I thought his arc was really, really cool, and he's really hard and doesn't trust his old friend, and because he knows what he's capable of doing, but he realizes that he's going to need his help in order to really obliterate the tree demon. So I really liked his character. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more of him in the middle of the movie, not just at the beginning and the end. But I really enjoyed his character.
Yeah, he was intense. He was a very intense guy. Intense. You know, anybody who's willing to cut, because I think he has the Louis Koo character cut off his arm. He instructs him to do so that he can form the seal. Like that's a pretty committed person.
He was very serious about his job.
Yeah, and yeah. So I guess the other part of this movie I liked that was kind of interesting was the scene where she's kind of where they flee from the temple and she needs to feed, and she's kind of dying as a result of it, and so he lets her feed off of him, and then that's sort of what leads to the like more serious romance between them, or I guess like the physical side of the romance. But like she nearly kills him. You know, like it's it's not like in a lot of these movies when they do that, it's like just like a little bit, but like he looks like he's about to die.
Yeah, his whole face is all shrunken in, and it's like, oh my gosh, if she goes any further, we're not going to have a scholar character. But she stops herself like right in time.
And then he still wants
like,
more.
You still need it. Come on.
But I thought that was a charming scene. And then who was the guy? Was his name Iron Tooth? The character is played by I think Li Jing, and he's like the really quirky, like
the village idiot guy.
Yeah, that guy.
He's not the bright one.
But he decides to get the dog's blood and because he wants to expose the demon, and he ends up throwing it on Yin by mistake, and his face is covered in the blood. And I thought that was a direct callback to a Chinese ghost story where Wu Ma has his face, I think, covered in white instead of red. Right? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I think it's white.
Yeah. So I thought that because there's a scene, Adam, where Wu Ma, who plays the demon hunter, is his face gets covered in white for some reason, like a white powder or white liquid, and he starts lamenting how he's stuck between the world of demons and the worlds of man, and it's just this really hysterical scene, and so I thought that's what this was kind of referring to, because it looks similar. The way it's dripping off his face looked really similar. Yeah, I think if you see the original, Adam, you're gonna.
Oh no!
Yeah, you're gonna
hit that moment.
Yeah. But what's beautiful though is there's actually the original franchise has 3 movies, and I think we only did one of them, right? So so we still have 2 that we could potentially do in the near future. So the music is the other thing I wanted to discuss. I know that I'm usually the one who ends up paying a lot more attention to the music stuff. So if you guys didn't notice it, it's fine. But I was just curious. I guess first off, Dion, did you notice the theme from the original in this version?
And, I get teary eyed.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just when I hear it, I just get teary eyed.
Well, it's funny because that theme really grew on me over time. I think the first time I heard it, it almost sounded a little bit silly because of the way he's singing it. I just didn't understand. But then over time, it's just one of those songs that you can't get out of your head. And I think I've been guilty of leaving the DVD on in the background where it just has the menu on and it's playing that song over and over and over again. But there were also 2 other musical themes. There was this sort of choral melody that kept repeating, that they would use for dramatic effect, that I thought was really nice. It almost had, I don't know why I have to make this comparison, but it had like a Christmassy sound to it for some reason. It was like a like I hear it and I imagine like reflective golden orbs and other ornaments on the Christmas tree. Do you know what I mean? And it was just a really nice melody. But they also had a string melody in it that I swear to you is really close to the melody from the end of House of Flying Daggers. Remember that opera music that they play at the end of House of Flying Daggers?
Yeah.
That the melodic theme that they kept playing at the really emotional moments in the movie, I think is either like they just took the melody directly, or they took like a handful of notes from that melody to, because it's def. I mean, I haven't listened to them side by side, so I don't know for sure, but they sounded really similar to me.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. But,
did you notice the music at all, or did it just kind of fade into the background for you?
I did. I can't say I thought a lot about it. I mean, the music was good. I was aware of the music at points, but I didn't have any particularly concrete thoughts on it like that, or I didn't recognize any of it.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the music in this one is pretty strong. And there are like three basic themes that get repeated, and they're all, I think, quite effective at doing what they need to do to make the movie work. But here's a question, since I know, Adam, you gave it a B- like I did, and what were the parts of the movie that you maybe didn't enjoy as much? Like, what were some of the aspects of it that might have brought it to that B- level?
It's a good question. The thing is, it's not like I wasn't enjoying it. It's like I enjoyed it all the way through, but I never completely, because it felt like a movie that was really close to being a classic. Yeah. But like I said, I think there was just too much in it. It's like, you're following. I really was getting into the movie at the part where the scholar first goes off up the mountain and everything, and I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. Then the scholar kind of falls out of the movie for a large part of the second half, and it's like, like you said, you guys really got into the story of the demon hunter and everything, but to me, it just felt like I was switching trains halfway through the movie, and it's like it meant that I wasn't as involved in either of them after that point. So that was really my issue.
I think I don't know if this ruined the movie for me, but one thing I noticed about it that it kind of diminished some of the magic of it for me is there was that. I think it really kind of it all centers on that scene where Ning Choi-san and Su-sin are walking through the woods together, kind of romantically, and I think he gives her some candy. One of the reasons why is something about that scene. Just the first time I saw it, that's when I remember feeling a little bit bored. When the first time I sat down to watch the movie ever, and I don't know why, but something about it just kind of felt like that scene didn't need to be there or something. But the other bigger reason is the Su-sin character is walking. And I thought that was really strange that she was walking like a normal person on like a stroll with a guy. You know what I mean? Like, because in the original Chinese ghost story, she's so ethereal and floating all the time, and it's so like every depiction of her is just like she's something that you have to aspire to. She's not at the ground level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she seemed very mundane in that moment, and it kind of just felt like, why are they maybe they were trying to humanize the character because she does sort of go in that direction later in the movie, but something about having her stroll through the woods like that just really, it grounded her as like a human to me, and she didn't feel as much like a demon in that moment. But those would be I guess that would be my one criticism of the film, is that particular scene. Which wasn't it wasn't a especially bad scene or anything. It just I couldn't help thinking those things when I was watching it.
Yeah, well, going back to how we talk about our scale and everything, a B- means it's a good movie all the way through. It just could have been better. So it's not like I could point to a patch and go, I hated this section of the movie or anything.
Now, What about the village elder's daughter? There's a scene where the Elvis Choi character, the headman of the village, he clearly sees, I guess, that the Ning Choi San character has potential to rise to the ranks of the empire or something, and so he tries to get him together with his daughter, and she's trying to seduce him, but he's already in love with the ghost, and she's not an especially attractive woman. Yeah. But I thought that the actress did a really good job with that role. That was
that was a good touch of comedy. Plus the fact that the village idiot is looking on, wishing that he was our scholar. You know, you could tell he was obviously in love with her already. Yeah. And he's mad because the head village man is trying to push his daughter onto someone else when he really wants her. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I like that scene all around. I mean, just the village elder kind of setting up the whole situation. It's like, oh, you're the hero here. Let me introduce you. There was a really nice sense. The village is in the background for almost most of the movie. We don't spend that much time there. We don't get to know any of the characters that well, but in those moments we have, they really did a good job of making it feel like this real place that has its own kind of life going on, even though it has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, it was an eccentric place, but yeah, I liked the village. It worked. And it's funny because the settlement in the original is like a much more dangerous place. It's like where, it's like where like you feel very threatened every time the character goes to the village or to I think it was a town maybe, but and that's they did a nice job of picking kind of a different venue for the movie. I kind of liked I think in the original the town felt more like a proper town, and this one it felt like the village felt more connected to the temple in a good way. You know what I mean? It felt like a nice sort of remote mountain community, and I thought that really gave you that sense of how isolated he was from the rest of the world. Maybe that he's sort of stuck in this village where. It clearly is not. It's not plugged in to
yes.
So I thought that all worked quite well. So we're getting close to the end of the episode. Any other thoughts on the movie before we start walking out of here?
I thought it was a good movie, but it kind of left me wanting something else. I remember in the original, one of my favorite scenes was when the scholar and the demon hunter and the ghost were running away, and they ended up in the little inn.
Oh, yeah.
And they ended up at the wedding, and I kind of missed that. That was like one of my favorite parts of the original movie, and it wasn't there. And I was wanting to see how they would change the special effects to make it, newer, make it better, and then the whole scene wasn't there. So, that's my only downfall for that movie, was I was waiting for something that never appeared.
Yeah, that was that was an amazing finale in the original. I really want to see the other three the other two with you guys and get like everybody's opinions on the sequels and how well they compare to the original. Because some people actually prefer the sequels to the original movie. So I'd be curious, but yeah, that original version is just so it's kind of like I was talking on the other podcast about The Bride with White Hair again, and how that's like a perfect. Like that, to me, that's like a perfect wuxia movie. It just has like that perfect sort of pacing and structure, and I feel Chinese Ghost Story is like it's kind of similar. The original, it's very there's nothing in that movie I'd want them to take out. And here there's that scene where they stroll through the woods that I would want them to take out. But I agree with you. I think the ending, but again, that ending only kind of makes sense when
in that movie.
Yeah, well, when it's like a love story between the two characters and not a love triangle.
Right.
So I think they kind of cut themselves off from going in that direction, maybe. But again, that in scene, I don't know. I guess they could have still found a way to work an in into it that was creepy like that, because it was a really surprisingly creepy scene. And so I don't know. But yeah, Adam, what are your final thoughts on this one?
I suppose as my final thought, I'll just present one of my biases too. And my opinion, I would have been better off without the Demon Hunters love story angle. It's that I feel like love stories in movies I often feel there's this desire to make them too complicated. Like you can't just have a scholar and the demon fall in love and they have to deal with this problem. You have to throw a problem into their relationship. It's like it feels like that with every movie. It's like you could never have two characters together against the world much. It's always got to be. And there's another problem. And that is a bias of mine. If you don't have that bias, what I'm complaining about might not bother you at all. But
yeah, I definitely want to see your reaction to the original. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to when we do it on Wuxia Workshop, I'm going to maybe have when you'll get a chance to weigh in on.
Join in the Wuxia Workshop. Yeah. Okay.
Because I think then I think it'll help us on this show when we do the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's a solid movie. Like I said, I stand by my B- on it. But I think the performance by Kara Hui, this is Kara Hui month, so we should make note of that. It's a really really outstanding one, and it's a solid horror movie. If we're coming on October, it would definitely be a film worth getting. Now the downside of this movie is it can be really hard to get a copy of. I think it's getting a little bit easier now. But I spent like 2 years trying to get a copy at one point, and I eventually ended up getting a Korean version that was legitimate and had English subtitles. But up until then, every time I would order one on Amazon or something, it would be like some crappy bootleg. And and I don't think this is a movie that you wouldn't want to see this one on bootleg, because it kind of needs the sheen.
It's a really nice looking movie, without question.
Yeah, definitely.
So we will head out, and we'll be back again next week with another Kara Hui film. And
Long Road to Gallantry, I think it is.
Is that what we're doing? Okay, so we'll be doing Long Road to Gallantry, and like I said before, we've done a lot of her films. So if you're complaining that we aren't doing My Young Auntie this month, or
we've done it,
go
back and we'll listen to it.
Yeah, and I even have it up on the blog. I have all the links so that you can go listen. And we just didn't want to do them twice. So all right. So we will let you go, and we will talk to you later.